Hey patrons, it's me, it's Queen Auset-Heru, and thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I have a very short episode for you today. I watched a really cool movie, but it was really short. It was really short. It wasn't a lot of plot to it, and I can pretty much sum it up pretty fast. So we're going to do that. We're going to, let me get my pen. So we're going to do that. I'm going to give you the summary of the movie. I'm going to give you the virtues. No, I'm going to give you the vices of the movie. And then I am going to give you the virtues. And then I'm going to give the movie a rating. Okay, as always. Now, I love doing the witch trials. I have to tell y'all that. It's so cool to find these movies, to find these, witchy movies and talk shit about them, and take my little notes and put them on trial. I love it. I love it. I love it. So today I want to talk to you about a movie called Season of the Witch. Season of the Witch is a fabulous title. I love that title. It's actually the title of one of my favorite songs by Donovan. It's called Season of the Witch. It's a bad, funky 70s tune. I love that song. And Season of the Witch is also the title of another movie that I'm also going to review that came out in the 70s. But these two movies are totally different. So the plots are different. There's no crossover from what I understand. So let me tell you about this one. This Season of the Witch was done in 2011, and it stars Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is like an American phenomenon. He's been in a lot of movies, and he gets a lot of props. I like Nicolas Cage. He's not my favorite actor, but I like him, So this movie, Season of the Witch, was set in ancient Europe. They gave some numbers. They gave a lot of dates, actually. But I'm not sure if if this was historical fiction or historical, like the dates were supposed to match up with reality. But what I do know is that it was ancient Europe. It was during the time of the Crusades and the bubonic plague. Now, I don't know if in real history those two things happened around the same time, but this is a rough estimate of where this time period was, because they showed pictures of the Crusaders, and we went into several towns that had the bubonic plague. And in essence, that's what the movie is about, the bubonic plague. So now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the summary. Okay, so Nicolas Cage and his best friend are Crusaders. During the time of the Crusades, there were these holy wars, basically. So it was the Christians versus the pagans, the Christians versus the rest of the world, basically. Rome was trying to expand and take over and spread Christianity. And they had these knights, and these knights were killing people and basically making pagans convert or die. Basically, they would fight wars. It was very bloody. And it was, I don't know, like I said before, if the whole movie is historically accurate, but a lot of this stuff really did happen in history, especially the Crusades, the Knights Templar, a lot of that kind of thing. So I think it's more than likely historical fiction. Anyway, so basically what happens is these two, him and his best friend, are out crusading. They're killing people, making them, turn to Christianity. If they won't turn to Christianity, they massacre they slaughter entire armies, entire villages with women and children. I mean, they're just doing it. They're just about it. Now, the women and children thing happened towards the end of their little crusade. Up until that point, Nicolas Cage and his best friend were mostly fighting other men. Well, one day they go to this village and they're turned on women and children, basically. And Nicolas Cage has a epiphany. Like, I'm not doing this no more. Like, why am I killing in the name of God? That doesn't even make sense. So Nicholas has this extreme crisis of faith, and it's like, fuck all of this. I'm not doing this anymore, So he decides, him and his best friend, that they're going to desert. They're going to desert this whole thing and, let it be, So they do. They run away, and they come across a farm. And in the farm, everybody's dead. And they're like bloated and diseased, and they don't know what the heck happened to them, but they're dead. Their animals are wandering around. So they set the place on fire, which is, customary for that time period. If you find plague or pestilence, you set the place on fire. And they jumped on their horses and they rode to the next town. So when they get to the next town, they're spotted and they're recognized as deserters. So now they want to basically, I think, hang them or burn them or whatever at the stake. So they arrest them, and the one of the priests tells them their lives will be spared if they take the witch. They have this witch in custody. If they take the witch to these monks across the hill, down the valley, around the block, up through the woods, if they take this witch to this place, these monks are going to exorcise, or some kind of way they're going to get the evil out this woman. Because at that point, they think that she's a witch and that she has brought about the bubonic plague. That she did a spell or something, and has brought about this plague. So if Nicolas Cage and his best friend will take her to these monks so they can lay hands on her and use the Keys of Solomon, and the Keys of Solomon is a real ancient book. You can Google it. It's a real book. I've never seen it before or read it before, but I've seen like folklore about it in encyclopedias. So this book is supposed to be what they can use to rid the world of the plague and of this witch. And the witch, of course, is some like 15-year-old girl, who's screaming and crying, So anyway, Nicolas Cage refuses. He would rather be put to death than work for the Catholic Church. And overnight, he finds out that he meets the witch, basically. He feels sorry for her. He thinks that she's not really a witch and she's a young girl getting a bad rap. And he says, you know what? I'm going to take her. I'm going to take her and make them give her a fair trial. So the benevolent Nicolas Cage decides that he is going to save this young girl. So that is what makes him take on this journey with his best friend. So the rest of the movie is him taking this journey. It's not, how a quest is, there's wolves, there's a bridge that falls apart, it's a whole quest, it's like a King Arthur quest. And they dragging this witch along. They got her in like a cart and they're wheeling her along, and it's him, it's his best friend, it's a priest, an altar boy, and some man they hired as a guide who was basically a criminal and just did it to get out of he was in that thing, whatever that thing is they put you in, I forgot what they call it, but they put you in this thing in the middle of the town square and people throw rotten tomatoes at you when you've been a thief or a burglar or something like that. So he was on this thing. He would do anything to get out of that. So he promised to be their guide. Supposedly he knew where this rectory, this abbot, this place where these monks were. He had been there before and knew how to take the guys there. So they hired him to do it. So all of them go. The witch is doing all kinds of stuff. And as you're getting ready to see, I'm going to talk deeper about what she's doing and not doing. And they finally get there and there's a fight, of course. Come to find out, the witch isn't a witch. She's actually a young girl possessed by a demon. I mean, the whole thing gets crazy and all hell breaks loose, literally. There's a whole big fight. All the other monks are already dead when they get there, and it's just them, and they have to perform the ritual. They don't know how. The priest gets his neck snapped by the demon. I mean, it's crazy. So by the end of the movie, everybody's dead. Basically, the demon kills everybody, and the two people that are left alive, the altar boy is able to finish the ritual and destroy the demon. But not before everybody else is dead. Nicolas Cage, his best friend, the tour guide, the other priest, everybody's dead. And then the altar boy leaves with the young girl, because mind you, she was possessed, so the demon was exorcised and killed, so she's now back to normal, and he goes back to where they came from with the young girl. Now, if I was that young girl, I wouldn't have went back, quite frankly, because I don't see how they gonna receive her with open arms, after all of this. 9 times out of 10, knowing the Catholic Church, they gonna burn her ass. So if I was her, I would have kept going north. But she goes back with him, and the movie is over. Okay. So now let me tell you a little bit more about the vices. So the movie, I'm not going to say it was a bad movie because I enjoyed the movie. I mean, I like the action and the fighting with the swords. I love a good sword fight. So I like the action. I love the fighting with the swords. I just thought the plot was ass. I didn't really get much from the plot. Like, it was just like, so your whole movie is about taking the journey from one end of the country to the next by foot? Like, I mean, come on. I didn't like the plot. I didn't like it at all. But I loved the fighting scenes. That was really cool. So let me tell you about the virtues before I tell you about what I liked. The vices before I tell you about what I liked. The first vice is that in the very beginning of the movie, they hung 3 witches. Okay? So they hung these witches and then drowned them after they hung them. And actually, that's not historically accurate, because what they used to do was they would drown you first, because it was believed that a real witch could not be drowned. So if you tried to drown her and she did not die, then she is truly a witch. Of course, most of them died because they weren't witches in the first place. And even if they were witches, they wouldn't be able to make it past. You can't try to drown me. I'm going to die. That's just the bottom line. We don't have that power. But these witches did. So it was very Hollywoodified. And I was sitting there rolling my eyes because they hung them, then they drowned them, and they were all 3 still alive. So the priest pulled them out the water, said some words out of his magic book, and they exploded or something like that. They finally died for real, basically. So if he didn't say the magic words, I think one of them jumped out the water and grabbed him by his throat. It was all this dramatics, And basically, if he didn't say the magic words, they weren't going to be really dead. And in reality, if you take a person, a witch of any kind, and you drown them, that poor child going to be dead. Bottom line. So I thought that was, again, more of that Hollywood stuff. And in the jump scare, when she jumps out the water, I'm looking like, really, come on, witches can't do that. Then the witch, as they were going on the trip, she had them bugging, yo. She had them hallucinating. She was causing confusion. She made one man think he was seeing his dead daughter, but it wasn't his dead daughter. It was really the altar boy, and he ran right into his sword and it killed him. It was out of pocket. It was so crazy. So she didn't even cast a spell or give him a potion or nothing, but she had them bugging out. And I was like, a real witch can't do that. I mean, thank God, because can you imagine if all the witches you knew or you came across had the power to make you be confused and hallucinate? Like come on, not good. Then the next vice is incredible feats of strength. This witch could beat up grown men. Now, I'm not going to say there's no women out there in the world that can beat up a grown man, because there's plenty of them. There's plenty of them. All you got to be is stronger or faster, or maybe just hit him in the head at the right time. But basically, she was fighting men who were like heroes, like Nicolas Cage and his friend. They were heroes. They had defeated, army after army after army. And this little child who was like 95 pounds was flinging them, and I was like, that's not no witch, man. Ain't no way in God's green earth. No way. If I had that kind of incredible strength, I could throw cars and, stuff like that. Please, that is so Hollywoodified. That's more like the X-Men than an actual witch. Then she was able to call upon werewolves. When they got to the woods, the guy that I told you guys was the guide, the tour guide, he was crooked. He was real crooked. And he was like, yo, let's kill the witch, bury her in the woods, and act like she tried to escape and we had to kill her. He didn't even want to take her back. You know, he was just like, look, let's just go. And they argued about it. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes these werewolves. So she was able to like call upon these wolves, and they came out of nowhere, and they were supernatural. They weren't just regular wolves, and they tore him apart. But nobody else though, because they killed the first 5, and then they ran, and then more came, you know, and they killed just him and nobody else. So it was kind of suspicious, and you find out later on in the movie why. Then holy water burns the witch. They kept on throwing holy water on her. And at one point, the priest said, we're going to need more holy water. And I was watching it like, yeah, you definitely are. I remember one time I had a client, and my client was having some problems with like negative spirits coming in her dreams. And I'll never forget, it was very similar. She called me on the phone and said, how much holy water can you get your hands on? And I was like, that's an odd question. Like, okay. It cracked me up. So holy water burns the witch. But the truth is that holy water will not burn me. If you throw holy water on me, all you're going to do is mess up my mascara. It's not going to burn me. It's not going to harm me in any way. Even if I was a dark witch, a negative witch, an evil witch, holy water is still not going to make the witch burn, because holy water has no power over us. It has no, I mean, an object, a relic, an item only has power if you believe in it. So if the witch believes that the holy water can harm her, then she's, you know, she ain't gonna be burning and her skin be boiling, but she might actually believe it has a negative effect on her. But most of us already know that, you know, relics from somebody else's religion are not gonna harm us. So holy water is not going to burn me. As a matter of fact, I was raised Catholic. Now that I think about it, so holy water is not going to burn me. And I've been to the Catholic Church since I became a priestess, and I don't remember if I touched the holy water or not, but I do remember being in the church and it didn't burn down, and I didn't pass out, so I think everything was fine. Rituals in the Key of Solomon. They was doing these rituals, and I was just watching it like, what kind of ritual is this? And basically it was pretty straightforward, you know, they're reading something in Latin, you know, but I just was like, these rituals is crazy. And they were like making the demon fly around and explode and stuff like that. It was just very extra. And anybody who's ever sat through a real exorcism will tell you that it get crazy, it gets weird, you know, but it don't get like that. You know, this demon was flying around the room, and it was just like, and most exorcisms that you see or you hear about is usually a regular old person, you know, and like in this case, it was a young girl, but when they got to the place that they were going to, she suddenly turned into a demon. And come to find out, the priest is like, oh my God, she's not a witch, she's a demon. So come to find out, after all of this, she wasn't even a witch. She was possessed by a demon, you know? So the demon was like flying around and cussing at him, and I was like, demons speak English? Like the whole movie had me tripping. And the special effects for the demon, I don't know what was going on, but I've seen better special effects during that time period. So I don't know what, maybe their budget wasn't that high, but the demon did not look authentic. I mean, I ain't going to say like authentic, like it just looked, it looked cheesy. It looked really cheesy to me. The costume looked really cheesy. And I've seen other demon costumes look a lot more better than that, even from movies that were way before it. So their budget for costumes, as far as the demons were concerned, wasn't that great. So those rituals in that book probably, even if they worked, wouldn't have worked like that, is my point. It was just very exaggerated. And the last vice is the witch is really a demon. After all of that, of them calling her a witch and, and making all the witch references and the innuendos and all of that. After all of that happens, come to find out she's possessed by the devil, or possessed by a demon, put it like that. And she's not even really a practicing witch at all. They had that girl cased up, they had her confess, you know, the whole 9 yards. And come to find out, the whole time the child didn't even do nothing. She was just possessed. All right, so those are my vices. Let's see how many we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we got 7 of those. Now I'm going to tell you what I liked about the movie. I told you I liked a good sword fight. First of all, I really did enjoy the sword fighting. I liked it in the beginning. They fought a number of times. They fought, you know, the demons at the place. It was a lot of fight scenes. They fought the wolves. I liked the fight scenes. I'm going to give them that. The fight scenes were really cool. Nicolas Cage, from what I understand, does good fight scenes. And I've only seen like 1 or 2, and they were pretty good. I liked the fight scenes in this movie. 2, the costumes. I did not like the demon's costume. It looked very cheesy, but I did like the outfit. I didn't like Nicolas Cage's his hair. They had a horrible wig on, my man. The wig was horrible, but the outfit I was feeling. I was feeling the outfits of the priests. They look pretty much what I would expect them to look like. They might not be historically accurate, but in my mind, that's what a pope would have on. That's what a priest would have on. That's what a bishop, an altar boy would have on. They look pretty, you know, normal. The Crusaders had the outfits on with the big T across their chest. You know, they looked, you know, pretty normal as far as that was concerned. So I did like the costumes, just not the demons. The witch trials. They mention the witch trials by showing you a witch trial in the very beginning. These 3 witches, basically it's just 3 women who were accused of witchcraft, and they're asked, you know, if they're a witch. And the one girl confesses because he told her, if you confess, I will do something. And basically he was trying to say, God will pardon your soul, basically, but you still gonna die on this bridge tonight, you know. And she didn't understand that and confessed to try to get away. And this is what happened historically. You know, we've read this in accounts. A lot of the accused witches confessed. And they confessed because they were told if they confessed, they would be let go, or alluded to their release. And they would confess, and some of them never confessed. They refused to confess. They were killed anyway, you know. So you did get a chance to see some of that interaction in the very beginning. It was very quick. And from what I understand, the real witch trials were a little bit longer. Like in this one, there was no trial. They took them to the bridge, they chained them up, they asked them did they do it. 1 said yes, 2 said no, and they threw them over the bridge. You know, it was no trial at all. And from at least most of the written accounts that I've seen, there was usually some kind of a fabricated trial in the actual court. And then they were hung and burned and all kinds of other stuff to these poor people who weren't even witches in the first place. That's the interesting thing about the European and the Salem witch trials and witch trials in other parts of the world, is that most of these people were not witches. That's the crazy part. They weren't practicing positive or negative. They weren't doing anything. The one lady said that she was making a salve out of pig fat, and somebody saw her and accused her of witchcraft. And that's how she got murdered that night on the bridge. So this was very historically accurate in the sense that so many innocent people were murdered. That's why I call this video series The Witch Trials, because I wanted to pay homage to those people who lost their lives for nothing. And the next one is transporting a witch to an abbey. I like the way they decided to transport the witch and roll her up, you know, to the abbey. The only reason why I like that is because it did give a lot of suspense. Because this movie had a lot of suspense and a lot of jumps and, you know, a lot of little scary parts to it. So I really did enjoy that aspect of it. I will say that. And I enjoyed that aspect of it simply because of the fact that it gave some it gave some movement to the plot. You know, if they hadn't been doing that, this movie would have been so boring. If they had stayed at that original Abbey and didn't walk to the other one, it would have been so boring. You got to see all kind of stuff. You got to see the witch acts, you know, the witch make them hallucinate. You get to see them go through the woods. You get to see them almost die on a bridge. Like, it added some suspense and some movement, some action. So I did like that part. That was a saving grace, because if they didn't do that, this movie would have stunk. I probably would have turned it off. Oh, there was a lot of mystery about this young witch. Is she a witch? Is she not a witch? Is she an innocent girl? At one point, she helps the altar boy who's about to fall off the bridge. She saves his life. But we find out later that the witch was possessed by a demon, and the demon wanted to go to the other abbey because he wanted to destroy the Keys of Solomon, the other ritual book. So she saved the life of the altar boy, and, you know, in her possessed demon form, she saved him because she needed him to get her the book. So you're not certain about her nature throughout the whole trip. The whole trip she's running away, she's playing the victim, she's telling them she's afraid of the priest because he's harmed me, like he's raped her or beat her or something. You know, she didn't say what he did, but she just was so scared of him. So you don't know what the hell is going on. Is she a young, innocent girl? Because at first, Nicolas Cage thinks she's young and innocent. Towards the end, he thinks she's crazy and want to kill her too. You know, it's like the whole time there is this ambivalence about, is she wicked or is she not? Come to find out, she's not wicked, she's just possessed. But it's very interesting how they play that throughout the movie. Throughout the entire film, that question is asked until it's answered. So I thought that was interesting as well. All right, guys, so now we're done. Let's add up our vices. What did I like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 5. All right, so this movie had 7 vices and 5 actual virtues. So what am I going to give this movie as a rating? I'm giving this movie an F. I'm giving this movie an F because, and the only reason why is because there's no real witchcraft in here. There is some historically accurate information that we've seen, like I said, from the trials, but there's no witchcraft. There's no candles. She doesn't burn a candle. She doesn't do any herbs. She doesn't get any oils. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't do anything witch related. All she does is confuse and lie. Stuff any person could do, really. And then we find out that she's possessed later on, and then she gets real supernatural on us. But during the trip, she didn't do anything witch-like. You know, she didn't do, like, at one point she offers to heal Nicolas Cage. She's like, give me your hands and I'll heal you. But she doesn't really do it because he don't give her his hand, you know. So we never see her do any real witchcraft. So to me, this movie is not about witches. It's more of an action movie. And as an action movie, I can say it's okay. It's a C as an action movie. It's an F as an actual witch portrayal. Okay? So if you want to check out a good action movie, or I ain't gonna say good, if you want to check out an average action movie, check out Season of the Witch 2011. If you want to check out a movie about witches and witchcraft, this not it. Just bypass it altogether, because you're going to be disappointed if you're looking for real witchcraft. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being my patrons. It is the new year. And I want you guys to know how much I appreciate you. And I do this video series just because I appreciate you. And I want you to know that, because when you give to me, when you give me donations of whatever you give me, you know, I'm not buying yachts and, you know, flying around the world, you know. You're really helping a real person put on productions and be able to get, you know, camera equipment and, you know, buy, you know, backgrounds and things like that. You're helping a real person live out my dreams. So I really appreciate it because you could be doing anything with your money and you look out for me. So I appreciate that, and I want you to know that I'm thankful from the bottom of my heart, and I'm going to continue to give you the best content that I can possibly muster up. I have some more movies to do. I have a series called Juju. I have the Harry Potter movies to do for you guys. I have another series called Always a Witch to do for you guys. I have a lot more content. Every day somebody sends me another witch movie or another witch story or something like that. So I have a lot more interesting content to bring you in 2020. So thank you for being here with me, and I hope to see you and spend time with you for years and years to come. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you.